I feel so tired of living in Bombay. It is just a collection of craters, barely like connected together with roads.
I thought you said Bombay is now just a bunch of creators. And I was like, yeah.
The AI infrastructure that we have right now, it takes 6 times the amount of water that the entire country of Denmark. We don't have a lot of water.
I mean, when it comes to France, I just want to say that I think like all AI should stay away from anything to do with Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
The whole 1 minute clip is just women coming up to him and him planting kisses on their cheeks. A man comes in the middle of that clip near him.
Yeah.
With a selfie with the same camera. He doesn't kiss the man.
Yeah. Let's be honest, if we're being snobs, let's not be snobs about Coldplay. A section of people who just said, you cannot say that people who are not deserving have gotten tickets. Everybody deserves music.
Billionaires are not always right. If there is one thing that you will take away from So What, please don't blindly trust billionaires.
Hello and welcome to the very first episode of So What, a new podcast by Yuvaa for those who give a f***. My name is Kevin Lee. I'm the CEO of Yuvaa. And every week, we're going to be breaking down stories from the news cycle to hopefully answer the question, so what? We have as our first guest and hopefully a repeat guest on the show. He's promised me that he's going to be here every week. The chief and co-founder of Yuvaa, Nikhil Taneja. Thank you, Nikhil, for joining us.
Yeah, it's great to have a podcast made for young people to things to care about. Having two old people talking about it.
Yeah.
That's exactly how this world works, this country works. So
I think
very happy to represent the youth at 38.
We spent a lot of time talking about what the world needs, and the answer we came up with was 2 men on a podcast.
Absolutely.
So here we are.
Yeah, it's an evolution, and now people will get to see the terrible jokes that they don't get to see on Be a Man Yaar as part of this podcast.
That's the aim of this podcast.
And the good thing is that it's happening on your podcast.
Yeah.
So
there's no pressure.
Yeah, exactly. I can make those jokes, and the people who never will watch this will always think that I'm just like a nice, empathetic.
So it's a Be a Man Yaar blooper reel basically.
It really is.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to hosting a more unserious, unhinged version of Nikhil, so that the world can see what we get to see at Yuvaa every day. But Nikhil, I want to start off by asking you, so how are you feeling? And how are you really feeling?
Today I am feeling peaceful.
Okay.
Because I had a really nice weekend. I actually met one of my very close friend Kautuk's daughter, who is 1 year old. Her name is Iru, and she's literally the cutest baby. She's a Pixar baby. So I'm like really in a good space right now because I've hung out. I think I've gotten my wholesomeness, I think dietary requirements for this month. So I mean, it's just so nice to hang with children, you know.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
And it's such a positive response. I, on the other hand, this week I'm feeling sick. My throat is screwed, which is always a great way to start the recording of a podcast. But also, I feel so tired of living in Bombay because Bombay at this point is just a collection of craters, barely like connected together with roads. I feel like anywhere you go, everything is dug up. It's become a joke at this point. We were talking a couple of days ago. I saw somebody who's actually on a JCB digging machine and had fallen asleep while the machine was still digging. And so it's a bad time to be in Bombay. And if you're somebody who's romanticized the idea of ever moving to Bombay and setting up a life here, let me just tell you, you should look at photos of Bombay construction before you make up your mind.
You know, the reason I was laughing was not because you said a bunch of creators. I thought you said Bombay is now just a bunch of creators. And I was like, yeah, that's also one of the reasons that there is so much traffic. There is a lot of noise.
I guess. No.
This is not to dunk on them, but you know, that is also a grievance that some people could have.
Some people.
Not us, because we love creators.
We
we love working with them all the time.
So I want you to tell me 3 things. 2 things now and 1 thing later. Okay. This is a very Gen Z way I've been told of doing updates called rosebud thorn.
Okay.
So a rose is something that makes you happy. A bud is something that you're excited or hopeful about. And a thorn is something that's been annoying you, or that's a bad thing in your life right now, or in the world that you're kind of seeing. And we'll come back to bud at the end, because I feel like once we're done with this conversation, we'll need something hopeful to look forward to at the end.
Got it.
So you can give me your rose and your thorn.
Okay. How about first you go?
Wow, nice. Yeah. It's always harder to think about like good stuff in your life. Okay, I'll go. The rose is I'm feeling this has been the most social January that I've had, or the most social month that I've had in my life for a really long time. Every single weekend there's been some social plan, and I've been trying to lean into it as opposed to being cranky about it. And I'm feeling happy that I've managed to do that. So Jan has been, even though it seemed like it lasted for 1,000 days, it's been a good month because I've met a lot of friends. I've attended a few weddings. I've already taken 5 flights this year. So I went to Kochi for a wedding. I went to Goa for a wedding. I've been going to the gym semi-regularly.
Wow.
So it's a good start to the year, and it's feeling like a good start to the year. So that's my rose. My thorn, I think I've already talked about. I'm sick. I hate being sick. I was literally sick last week. As you know, we were supposed to record the first episode of this podcast last week, and I woke up and I was unable to do it. And this morning I woke up again with a really bad throat. But then we're like, now we have to do it. So here we are.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if Nikhil gets sick as well because of me. But
Yeah, that's
the podcast
fine.
is more
The
important.
podcast must
We
go
can
on.
sacrifice our founder.
It's
completely
okay.
cool.
I think we
fair
have
enough.
enough people at Yuvaa who can take up the mantle.
Fair enough. That's,
But
that's a great strategy also.
Yeah.
How did he die? By flu.
Yeah, because we did a podcast.
Because we did a podcast called So What?
Yeah.
So what if he gets flu?
It's a
what if he
noble
dies?
way to
Superb.
die.
Okay.
Yeah, your turn.
My turn. My rose would be, I think I just, over the weekend again, I did a performance at Spoken Fest.
Oh yeah?
And that went really well. I was very hard on myself, I think, initially, but now that I got like 50 plus tags of people saying they liked it, I think I did a good job. But it was a very personal story. I spoke about my first therapy session, and I spoke about why men don't ask for or get enough hugs. And I actually initially thought that this is going to be a small intimate, this was an intimate piece. And then I went, when the day was called, I went out, I was like, some 800 people are there, and I'm like, what is going on? So my piece starts with me just being like, why are there so many people? There are too many people. And then I had to really collect my nerves and then try to, and then I think the adrenaline took me there, but also it was such a supportive and kind and wholesome audience. So just shout out to Roshan Abbas, who is an absolutely amazing person, who started Spoken Fest, kind of like my mentor, and just a all heart person. So that's the rose. The thorn is every morning now I get up, now compulsively, I am scrolling through Twitter, which is now X apparently, like a bad X. It's just there every day for me to doom scroll on, because I know that when it's morning in India, things would have happened in America. And America right now is my favorite reality show. It's also a terrible reality show, but it's like one of those things that you can't help watching. And every morning I get up, there's always an update about what Trump did today, what Elon Musk did today. And I hate what they're doing to the fabric of society. At the same time, I'm also extremely entertained by it. So it's a thorn because of democracy being crushed, but also because why am I enjoying it? So it is a.
As far as thorns go, that's a good one. Democracy is fucked. That's a good thorn.
Sure.
Yeah, you can use that for every episode.
Pretty much.
No, congratulations on Spoken, by the way, and that's not just a rose; it's a flex also, and it's a good flex.
Of course.
And I saw photos and it looked amazing.
It was.
Cool. So we're going to get into. So the way that we're doing this week is a little bit of a show and tell. So I have something that has been bugging me that I want to talk about, and then Nikhil has something that's bugging him that he wants to talk about. I will say at this point as a disclaimer that you'll probably understand later that it's not like what is bugging him is not bugging me. I also care about that and vice versa. But there are two broad things that we want to talk about today. And the first thing, Nikhil, that I wanted to talk about is AI and Deepseek.
Of course.
It's been a crazy week, as you said, for the United States, which is the worst reality show in the world right now.
Or is it the best? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think the good thing about the best...
Given that it's the worst...
Yeah. It's so bad, it's good.
Exactly.
That's a good zone for reality TV. Exactly. For those of you who might not know what's happened, there was a Chinese company called Deepseek that has built out an AI model, an LLM or large language model, similar to ChatGPT. And it's apparently close to being as effective as ChatGPT. But the funny thing is that it was developed at a fraction of the cost and using technology that the US has very specifically been trying not to export to other countries. So China basically showed up and said, hey, we can do this at a fraction of the cost despite your best efforts to stop us from doing it. And US capitalism has lost its mind. So the day after Deepseek came out, the US markets fell the most that they've fallen in history in a single day.
Wow.
American companies are in shambles. India is also seeing a little bit of a fallout from it. And very interestingly, because China is our neighbors, and as you know, in India, we're very conscious of what our neighbors are doing.
Of course.
Our IT minister, Ashwini Vaishnav, poor thing, I will say, has been woken up and thrust into the media limelight to say, why isn't India developing its own AI model?
Yeah.
And it's really funny, and you should check out some of the interviews that he's
right
doing.
now, it's only China that has. Imagine if Pakistan would have done it, what would have happened?
Yeah.
So it's the other neighbor.
I feel like that is that would be doomsday. But China is bad enough. So a lot of questions are being asked of the Indian government that why aren't you doing enough for AI? And it got me thinking that is AI something that India should give a shit about? So I wanted to talk about this from 2 or 3 different angles. But I wanted to start by asking you, do you use AI in your daily life? And what do you use it for?
Oh, wow. First, I want to say that, again, I'm just, because this is, again, almost like a reality show. As somebody who is actually only using AI like ChatGPT at this point of time for things like, I'm going on a podcast called So What? And I want to have point of views on AI. Please tell me the moral, ethical concerns about AI as if I'm a 5-year-old. Those are the exact reasons why I'm using AI at this point of time. On the other hand, I know that there's a lot of people who are far smarter and far more capable when it comes to using new technologies, and they are using ChatGPT obsessively. So I'm not one of them. But what I am is someone who enjoys drama, and I'm enjoying the meltdown of American billionaires over the fact that there is an entrepreneur in China who calls Deepseek, by the way, his side hustle. It was a side job for this person. They were like, oh, well, we were working on other things. And then we thought, why not also create an LLM, right? And then it turns out to be something that has like shattered ideas about what LLMs can be produced in. My favorite thing about this entire thing was seeing Sam Altman kind of being like, I think Deepseek is infringing on. He literally wrote in a tweet saying, I think Deepseek is infringing on the copyrights of AI when he is of ChatGPT, of OpenAI, when he and ChatGPT and OpenAI have been infringing on the copyrights of everybody else on the internet and in the world. So just seeing American superiority in what they used to think and what they believe is American superiority or American excellence getting questioned has been interesting to watch. And also just, I think again, a good sense of the fact that a lot of the times what we think about the world is actually coming from the people who have the mic, have the speakerphone, the loud phone, right? It is they who are telling us how the world operates. So if America has now, it's had the speakerphone, so they are the ones who are screaming and saying that AI is worth this much and it is this expensive to make. We just, since we don't know an alternate, we just believe it. So it's also really interesting for me because it's making me question how much of what we believe that, oh, this is possible only in this much money or in only doing this way is
actually true. Yeah. No, that's a good point. And I think that it ties into what my feelings about AI are as well. I think the first thing that I want to say is that none of us asked for this, right? I just want to put it out there that like right now we're using ChatGPT for free. There is a small use case for media professionals who are using, say, video generative AI and they're paying for it, right? And there is a direct case for a consumer to pay for an AI service. But if somebody came back tomorrow and said, hey, you have to subscribe to ChatGPT and pay 499 rupees a month to use it, I don't think that a large majority of people is going to be upset or is going to pay to use it. The point that makes me the most angry, among other things, have a lot of point of views on this, is that one of the things that I've been reading a lot about is how AI is bad for the environment. And the amount of water, the amount of resources that AI models need to be trained are out of whack. Like, for example, to build one LLM and the AI infrastructure that we have right now with like a few big LLMs that are out there, it takes 6 times the amount of water that the entire country of Denmark uses.
Wow.
Yeah. And we don't have a lot of water, and climate change is such a real problem.
Yeah.
But it feels like there is no responsible adult in the room who's saying, hey, maybe just use AI if you really need it. Like, it's being like literally forced down our throats without any kind of...
For me, Kevin, I think for me, the time that I actually was also someone who does believe that technological progress is good for society overall. I have seen how our lives have improved as basic. Okay, and I'm going to go into like, see, I'm not very well versed in technology as even you might be.
You're an engineer though, so there is that. Yeah.
I have an engineer who finished engineering and left it. Okay, so there is a reason I left it. So as someone who left it on purpose, because I realized this very early, like the ways in which technology has improved my life, as in my mother stays in Bahrain, I stay in India. I remember that doing an ISD call was just so hyper expensive that you could only talk to your parents if you were, staying away from them, internationally, only for like 5 to 7 minutes, because it was prohibitively expensive, right? Yeah. And now with WhatsApp, I can talk to my mom for like 30 minutes, 40 minutes without having to worry about my phone bill. So it has, in many ways, small things like this, where it has made your life better, right? Of course, there are arguments to be made about how technology has also made your life worse. But I'm always like hopeful about the fact that, there is enough over here that has benefited us. Yeah. And I was one of those people who genuinely was interested in what OpenAI was doing, because it started, as we all know, it started off as a non-profit venture. Yeah. It started off for public good and public service. It was an idea that, okay, AI is going to help humanity as a whole. And then one day, they just decided that, no, we want money. They did it apparently to grow it. At the same time, how is what we had at the time that this was a non-profit to now what we have at the time where it is a for-profit, and there's millions and billions of money being thrown into not just one but like 20 models like this? Yeah. Is the rate or the delta at which it is making the world better? Yeah. Is it really making that much better when it was a non-profit? Yeah. Like, am I using ChatGPT for something absolutely extra? Every single update of somebody saying that this is what AI can do makes me now genuinely be like, this is far stupider than what I thought it could be. Yeah. Like really, like initially when they were talking about all of this, I was like, this could be helpful, this could be interesting. And now it just, I heard the other day, just frustrated me like so much, Kevin, when there is a AI platform called Suno AI, which actually helps you create music. When the CEO of that platform going on a podcast and saying something remarkably ridiculous, where he said that the reason that we have this platform is because making music takes time, and because it takes time, people are not making music and they're getting bored and they're doing other things. If they're getting bored of trying to make music, then they're not musicians. They are, because if you're a musician, the fun, any artist, any art is great because of the time that you take to nurture, to create it with love and passion. And then when you finally, after putting hours and days and months and weeks into it, you make something beautiful, the contentment you get out of that's what you do this for. Art. And then there is this one person saying, oh, the reason that we are doing, because it's apparently like spending time in creating music is a bad thing. No, if you're not spending that time, you'll never be a musician. You will never be a master of music. Can you give 4 prompts to AI and say, create a music? Sure. But do you even have the judgment to understand if it's good music or not? Yeah. No, you wouldn't. So I find now the way that people are even thinking of creating new AI platforms, just ridiculous ideas. I don't know if you feel the same.
No, I think my overall view on AI is that we don't know what it is yet. And I don't think anybody knows what it is yet. And if we don't know how we're going to monetize it, if we don't know if people are going to pay for it, or it's always something that just billionaires are continuing to put money in, or companies are paying for, I think until we figure it out, it's likely that we're going to see all of these billion ways in which it is out there. And I'll compare it to something that when, for example, we were talking about the metaverse, when we were talking about NFTs, you remember?
Can we take a moment to talk about the fact that
Yeah.
Facebook rebranded itself to Meta
Yeah.
because they were creating the metaverse.
Yeah.
They made a huge announcement. It pumped in billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And now the company is still called Meta,
Yeah.
but they have stopped the metaverse.
Yeah. It's dead in the water. Yeah.
It is just to say that billionaires are not always right.
Yeah.
My friends, if there is one thing that you will take away from so what after hopefully many episodes we do is that please don't blindly trust billionaires.
Good PSA to put out there. I don't think you should blindly trust anybody, but yeah, especially billionaires.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think we know what it is yet. And hence, even when I'm thinking about India and whether India should be pressured to create its own LLM, I did 2 pieces of research. First, I said outside
Where
of the
did you do
US
it on?
Not on ChatGPT.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
Outside of the US and China, which countries are trying to build their own LLMs, where they need government support. The one that came closest to is within the range of our GDP or economically is doing as well as India is France. They came up, they put in a little bit of money and they tied up with an
France
organization.
and India have the same?
No, France is a little bit lower, but yeah.
Really?
Yeah. France is top 15 in terms of GDP. So they came up with an AI model called Lucy, and it failed disastrously to the point where somebody would ask the AI, what is a nutritious source of energy? And Lucy would make up stuff like cow's eggs are really good to eat. If you would ask Lucy, what is the square root of a goat? It would say 1. So it failed at that level.
Wow.
And then France said, okay, we're pulling out. We're not doing this anymore. All other major countries, whether it's Germany, whether it's Japan, are trying to some regard, but it's not comparable to, for example, the space race, right? Which is very different. I know that when we talk about ISRO, when we talk about like, is it important for India to put in money to get to the moon or get to Mars when so many people are hungry? There are far more pressing needs that Indian citizens have. Should we be doing it? I feel like with the space race, there is an understanding that it shows that a country has a certain level of innovation to be able to get to space. And it is still prestigious. But we would not, for example, say social media is really big. India should be developing its own social media platforms. Everybody uses operating systems like Windows and iOS. Why is India not building its own platform? There is enough money to be made there. There is enough prestige, but we don't do it. So my personal view is that I don't think anybody really knows where AI is going. I feel like it is similar to when we were talking about NFTs or VR or AR before that. I'm sure it will be something. And I'm not shitting on the whole idea
not
of it.
NFT, but
Yeah, but
sure.
I don't think we know what it is. And it's okay for us to take time to figure it out.
I mean, when it comes to France, I just want to say that I think like all AI should stay away from anything to do with Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, that's
Like literally, there was a movie starring Scarlett Johansson called Lucy, which was made by a French director.
Yeah.
And if that is the like, why is everyone in AI obsessed with doing something to do with like, please leave her alone?
Yeah.
She sued Sam Altman and OpenAI for using her voice.
Yeah.
And like he's literally given commands saying that, hey, have her voice in her.
Yeah.
But anyway, just that's something that really immediately comes. Please just leave her alone.
Yeah.
But besides that, again, I mean, actually, I would love to know because you probably, again, research and I don't have this kind of understanding.
Yeah.
Why do you think that, and also because I don't know enough about this to be very honest, do you think we don't have the potential for creating an LLM? Do you think we don't have the resources, or do you think that it's not even worth it? It's just smarter working. I mean, as a nation, what are we gaining or losing by not creating our own AI? If you have, I don't know, do you have an answer to that?
I think that the potential of creating something at that level is amazing. If we were able to do it, it would definitely be a really good thing. But given the amount of resources that it will take, and just given the likelihood of success, I'm not sure it's right now the thing that we should be prioritizing very highly. I don't think it's something that if we miss out on it, we're going to be completely doomed or left behind. There are Indian organizations that have tried to build their own LLMs, even so far, right? So Ola, Bhavish Agarwal, who is a certain kind of billionaire in India, Bhavish Agarwal from Ola has built out this platform called Krutrim AI, and he's been talking about how India should have its own cloud platforms as well. We should not rely on Google Maps, for example, for navigation. We should not rely on Microsoft or AWS for this stuff. We should build our own independence. So he built this thing called Krutrim, which is, among many things, also an AI platform. But if you go to the chatbot and ask Krutrim, who made you? It says it was developed by OpenAI.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you
So
serious?
yeah, so it's essentially white labeling, and that's fine. I don't think that we should be obsessed with this idea of who innovated it. If you're able to take an existing thing that works and build out a layer on it, which I don't think that there's shit, but then don't pretend like you are building it from scratch.
I think there's a more fundamental question to be asked over here. See, again, it reminds me of when Twitter was, I think, having problems with the Indian government, and then there was an alternate platform that came out called Coup.
Coup, yeah, of course.
And I think they were trying to recruit people to come to Coup. So even I got messages saying that you write on Twitter, you're whatever Twitter influencer over Twitter. Why don't you join Coup? And then and then I went to the platform just to see what it is. And again, it was absolutely the same as Twitter. Even the fact that it was calling itself Coup, which was a bird, and it's like, why are you do something new? But my problem again, for the reason why Qtrim was launched, or at least that's what Bhavish Agarwal claimed in a post at that time. He had said that the reason he's angry about Microsoft and LinkedIn as platforms is because they are too woke. They force him to use pronouns and force him to be inclusive, which is just, anyway. I just really, again, the reasons why you're starting all of this, and even the note at which you're starting all of this is like, oh, I think that there is diversity and inclusion, and hence we need new platforms. No, that's not why you need it. You need it because as a nation, we should be innovating. As a nation, we should be, as people, as human beings, we should, if you are in tech, what are you doing to push the boundaries of tech? When you talked about ISRO and you talked about the space race, for me, it comes to actually existentialism, right? It comes to answering the larger questions about the universe and why we are who we are. What are we doing on this planet? Where did we come from? Essentially, technological innovation that has happened across the years and that is continuing to happen today should be able to answer questions or help the human condition evolve or become better in some way fundamentally, or help us as a world, right? Someone wrote once that AI should not be doing my art and music so that I can do my laundry and taxes. AI should be doing my laundry and taxes so I can do my art and music. Right? That is what it should be. It should be able to make our life more easy, more convenient, or whatever, push the boundaries of, like when you're telling me AI is going to help with stem cell research, great. If it's going to help cure cancer, absolutely. Do we need all of that water in the world to be going down because somebody in a classroom somewhere did not find Google good enough to answer what is 2 plus 2 equal to? That is not what ChatGPT should be used for, right? That's my fundamental issue. And I feel like as a country, like look at Arvind Srinivas, man. We should create an environment in India where the brightest minds want to stay here and do something about making our country better, versus the white labeling is a larger issue. Versus using something that already exists out there and putting your own label on it and saying, "Acha, ye mera hai." What are we doing fundamentally as a nation to help our brightest engineers, brightest artists, brightest minds to be in this country and make it better, versus doing an IIT, doing an IIM, and then going abroad and becoming the CEO of like Microsoft, Google, LinkedIn, and every tech company in the world. What does that say about us? That there is a bright mind who's an Indian, but who is right now, his biggest thing right now is trying to get a green card in America. His biggest thing is that, look, I'm creating all of this value for America, why am I not getting a green card? Versus at any point of time even considering that, hey, maybe I can go back to India. But he knows that clearly the environment over here is not right for that kind of innovation. Why not? That's a question we should be asking and trying to answer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like it goes one level deeper than that, where we need to be investing in our universities. Like that ecosystem needs to be strengthened, that infrastructure needs to be strengthened. I was reading a post that said that we will succeed at the AI race the minute we stop treating it as a spectacle and we start seeing it as a long-term thing that we want to build. But yeah, fingers crossed. I want to end on like a funny note, and I can see if you can guess this. We've been talking about should India be part of the AI race or not? And globally, what is the connection between India and AI? Do you know the one person from India who's actually seen as one of the most influential people in AI?
Yes.
Who is it?
Anil Kapoor.
That's right.
And you want to give some context to that?
Yeah, I mean, it is like what you mentioned with Scarlett Johansson also, that
Yeah.
Anil Kapoor was one of the first Indian artists to say that as he saw AI technology becoming more powerful, that it would be illegal for anybody to use his likeness generated by AI.
Yeah.
And which is pretty cool.
Which is
if
actually
you
pretty
think
cool
about it.
when you think
Yeah,
about it. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. It's just that we don't even understand, as you said, the implications of what AI can do
Yeah.
beyond a point of time.
Yeah.
And Anil Kapoor probably was a very smart man.
I respect, because I think like it seems like such a random thing and we've all like laughed about it. But if you actually objectively look at it, he is fighting the good fight. And in the absence of like proper regulation to actually come in and dictate what AI can and cannot do, I feel like it's sad, but he's doing good things. So props to Anil Kapoor. Shouts to Anil Kapoor. That's my segment of show and tell for the week. You also had something that happened this week that you were affected by, want to talk about.
So I'll keep it very quick, because I think we wanted to dive deeper into one segment. But this is just a moral, ethical thing that I see sometimes, and it just really pisses me off, right? We all know what has happened now with Udit Narayan, and I want to say this as seriously as possible because it's not funny. Where there is a well-known Indian singer and a legend by all rights. There's a video of him where he is performing in a concert, and there are fans coming up to take selfies, and he's kissing all the women there. Now of course people have taken that one clip out where the woman kisses him first, and then he on the cheek, and then he kisses her on her lips, forcefully. That too, you could see that in the video. But before that also, the whole 1 minute clip is just women coming up to him and him planting kisses on their cheeks. I'll also tell you why it's creepy, because because he's made it to be like, oh, it's just an innocent fan behavior and this just happens. But when a man comes in the middle of that clip near him with a selfie with the same camera, he doesn't kiss the man. The man just, and you can see that, I mean, I don't even know what was happening there, because the man was like, he didn't give any bow to that man. There was no acknowledgement of his existence. He had a phone as well, and he also wanted a selfie as much as the women did. He acknowledged the women, came, sat down, took pictures with them, and planted kisses. And with the man, he completely ignored entirely. So now, any way you look at it, this is just creepy behavior, right? And my problem is that the internet, of course, is obviously making memes about it. And it is, see, there is an element of this which is also like really ridiculous, and it is meta, that he's singing Tip Tip Bharsa Pani and then he's acting thirsty. But the fact that we are when you make memes, when you make jokes, when you make light of such behavior, you minimize such behavior. You show that, okay, actually this is an acceptable behavior in some way, because we find it ridiculous enough to make fun of it, versus finding it for what it is, a very uncomfortable harassment like act done by someone who is a Padma Bhushan, who is I mean Padma Shri or Padma Bhushan, someone who's a legend in our country. And this has happened before. You know what's interesting now, and of course now YouTube is going to start throwing up some very weird shit, but I went back to see all the other kind of like kiss controversies that have happened over the years, right? In the US, let's start with the US and then come to an Indian one as well. In the US, in the 90s or early 2000s, there were several videos of like actors when they get awards, just going up and kissing the actresses in those videos. So you would have Adrian Brody, who's touted to be best actor for the Brutalist, getting an award for The Pianist, if I'm not wrong. And Halle Berry is on stage, and then he just kisses her without consent, of course, right? And she is like, her reaction is shock, and she just handles herself and then moves on. You know what's interesting? This clip was is still on the Oscars official channel as an Oscar member's favorite moment of the Oscars. There is a clip that has happened a couple of years ago, where 2-3 years ago, where Halle Berry has gone on a talk show and somebody has asked her about the kiss, and she's like, can I be honest? And she has like a really like strong opinion on the fact that I was very uncomfortable. I did not know what happened. I just went along with it, but man, it was not cool and whatever. She's talking about it very seriously. And the male host is just laughing. Andy Cohen, if I'm not wrong, just laughing about that. He's just like, that's such an awesome story. That's not an awesome. There's a woman here telling you that I was kissed against my consent.
Yeah.
I was not asked. This was not planned. It just happened.
Yeah.
And he's just laughing because just like there is nobody understands what's the acceptable response when something like this happens. And then I go back to one of the most famous instances of this, right? Where Shilpa Shetty and Richard Gere.
Yeah.
What do you remember of the kiss? Do you remember anything about it?
No, I mean, I just remember seeing a video of it. And I remember, unfortunately, more than the incident, I remember the press outrage over it. But I don't remember if she was comfortable at that time or not.
The outrage, the press thing was, how could Shilpa Shetty condone such behavior? How could Shilpa Shetty be? When I saw the clip, I realized now after all of these years, actually it was again forced upon her. First, Richard Gere came and gave her 2 pecks on the cheek. And then
he kind of like bends.
He literally just bends her over and then kisses her again very forcefully. And Shilpa Shetty is shocked. And then she basically says, "Ye zyada ho gaya." So she even like says it in Hindi, responds to the crowd that I wasn't expecting this. And what has the media done? The media has gone and said, look at how could Shilpa Shetty do this. And what is happening right now on Twitter real time, there are men who are commenting and saying, "Arey ladki ne pehle kiss kiya, why are we not looking at that? Why are we not making a big deal about that?" Now, the fact is, even if, there is something over here to be said about fan culture, which is a problem for sure. But even if there is a woman who has, as you know, violated your boundaries and come up and given you a kiss on the cheek, does that give you any right to violate her boundaries and kiss her on the mouth? What kind of a ridiculous conversation are we having about this? Instead of having a very serious one about power dynamics, about what is celebrity culture doing, what is allowed within celebrity culture, be the fact that we constantly minimize this kind of behavior. We constantly look at it and find it funny or humorous if a man does it, but if a woman does it, or a woman is involved that like Shilpa Shetty, you are constantly cribbing about it. Dhanashri, 1 month ago, people were calling her terrible names. They were calling her a slut. Why? Because she was seen taking a picture with a friend of hers in a hug. And that is enough reason for people to say, "Acha hua ki you divorced her." Or whatever, that's their assumption, right? That this is what has happened. Acha hua, he's left her. Whereas on the other hand, here you see Udit Narayan doing this. By the way, there are more videos that have come out.
It's a
Udit Narayan
repeat thing.
Kissing Alka Yagnik, Shreya Ghoshal, many other folks without consent all the time on the cheeks. And the conversation is a funny conversation. It's not a serious conversation. I mean, that is what actually really infuriates me about society, that we are so immature as a society, or for that matter, maybe just incelly, I suppose, that we are not even ready to have a conversation about what is deeply disturbing behavior from male celebrities. And unless you have those conversations, we are not going to have a better world for ourselves. So this is turned into a monologue, but it's
a good monologue.
It's a very upsetting thing that has happened.
Very important to kind of talk about it. And I think, as you said, the part of it that has annoyed me the most has also been how jokingly it's covered. Even people who are calling it out. It's not a small thing, it's beyond her. It's actually assault. It is technically assault. If you're kissing somebody against their will. I want to talk about when something like a Me Too movement happens. The hallmark of that is that women are coming forward and complaining about this. Right? And at that point, everybody's like, most women in our lives, unfortunately, have dealt with a situation where something like this has happened to them. And that's the world we live in. What made it different was that women were speaking up. And that's what made the movement so big. That women were taking control, agency, and coming out and talking about this. Does that matter? Specifically, in Udit Narayan's case, if you have a bunch of women who are lined up and they are seeing that he is kissing these other people and they are still kind of going in. And I'm not blaming them, of course. But I'm asking, what should our role kind of be? Should we be calling them out even if the women themselves have not decided to take any action? Should that be our space at all?
There are 2 things to it, right? I think it's a great question. I think one, the fact that you rejected a lot of the Me Too, the stories that came out of Me Too, because you said proof hai. Ab tumhe proof bhi dikh raha hai. There is a man forcefully kissing a woman. And a lot of these stories could start by that. Me Too stories that I was friendly with him,
Yeah.
but then he took advantage of me. This is exactly what this clip is. Somebody friendly, of course. And again, this is to not say that it is just okay for anybody to go and kiss celebrities. I think that's also like a.
Sure.
As I said, there is something to be said about obsession with celebrities and celebrity cultures, and fans not recognizing celebrity dynamics or not having enough understanding, maturity, or agency, or to even recognize that, yeah, this can be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
That conversation also is a conversation we should have and we will have at some point. But I'm saying, even if somebody has, gotten too excited, too crazy, and done something stupid, what is your responsibility as a mature person, as a human being? I'm saying morally. Just, there is another clip that has been passed around, and again, I don't know if there is if this is how he always behaves, but it was a very nice clip of Guru Randhawa. There's a woman coming up to him, kissing him, and him just being like,
backing off.
backing off and saying, it's sweet, I get it, but
No.
Right? It is a move by a man recognizing that he has some power dynamic here, and he is not going to take advantage of this woman for whatever reason, right? And that is how typically every celebrity interaction should be going, or anybody in that power dynamic, especially if there's a power dynamic of celebrity and fan, power dynamic of man and, unfortunately women who do not have the same kind of agency or the same kind of power as men in a society beyond a point of time. So there are multiple age. There is him much being older, somebody being much younger. Kitne power dynamic hai yahan pe? And why fundamentally for me it is supposed to be the responsibility of the person who is powerful in the situation to not take advantage of the powerless.
Absolutely.
But our society is built around that idea that typically it is the powerful who are waiting to come to power so that they can take advantage. And that's what is the sad bit about the society. That is what is genuinely upsetting about the society we live in.
I mean, it's an interesting point to ask you this question, but after these heavy discussions on Udit Narayan, on AI, on how a lot of things are screwed up, what's something that gives you hope? What is your bud?
To be very honest, it is actually, and not to say that this is a plug for this conversation, but it is to be able to have conversations like this, right? To be able to create spaces where conversations like this are happening. I feel like we don't have these kind of conversations enough. And unless whether we get it right or we get it wrong, I think just the fact that conversation is dying right now in a society and it's all become about anger and shutting each other down. That's also why we are not evolving as a society, because we are not ready to hear anybody's point of view. And if we can engage on these point of views, and I hope that, Kevin, you're able to get like guests from all kinds of guests and have genuine conversations with them about the things that are going on, like we did today. I think that's where we will start opening our minds. There'll be points you make, I make, somebody else's make, that helps us evolve. I saw this wonderful thing, in the last few days, called second season of Mo, which is a wonderful series on Netflix. And I really feel art and art is the thing that can save us, in the corrupted society we live in right now. It was such a beautiful story that Mo Amer has put together about as the first and only Palestinian show on Netflix, not even as a response to what has been happening in the world, but a truthful story about his experience of being an undocumented Palestinian living in America. And of course, he eventually got his citizenship. But just the journey of what a family like that goes through, when you've been displaced, when you've been, when you don't have a home, when you're stateless, and it's a comedy, and it's so funny, and it's bizarre sometimes. But the truth and the heart that it says the story with, and the honesty and the rawness and the dignity with which the experience of that person is put out. I mean, it really moved me. It moved me to tears. I feel like when I see stories like this being put out and released, by Netflix, of all the capitalist places in the world, which is so full marks to them for not compromising on the truth of the story. And as I said, I feel hopeful by us being able to have a discussion about this. So what is making you feel hopeful, Kevin?
It's something that's a little bit old now, and I've been thinking about it for a while to digest it. But the way that the Coldplay concerts went, which is a weird thing to say, I know, and I was not at them. But there's just been like, I feel like I'm so happy about so many things that happened. I feel like I'm really happy that there was a section of people who just said, you are not a super fan just because you've been listening to Coldplay from the time that you were a kid. You cannot say that people who are not deserving have gotten tickets. Everybody deserves music. It should not be gatekept, and we should not be snobs. And let's be honest, if we're being snobs, let's not be snobs about Coldplay, right?
Nice.
There are more bands to be snobby about. But I actually watched the entire Ahmedabad telecast when it streamed on Hotstar. This is not a paid plug for Hotstar.
Although we would love plugs. Hotstar,
Yeah,
if you're
sure.
listening.
We've not said anything bad about it. No. Just the level of production, the way that it happened at that scale, it's like Coldplay's biggest concert and it happened in India. I feel like we've become cynical to a point where we don't always give ourselves credit, and there are lots of bad things happening. But for 2 weeks, we had this amazing band come and talk about love and talk about peace and do it apparently sustainably. And it's put India, I think, on the map in a way. And it's not something that I thought I would feel anything about. Dude, like, we are like the Star Movies generation. That was the only place we had to watch English content, Star Movies and Star World. If you would have said at that time that like Coldplay is going to come to India and do a really big concert, I feel like there is something to be proud of. And I'm trying this year to be more positive about our country. And I feel like there is stuff to be positive about. Conversely, Cigarettes After Sex got cancelled because of production issues in Bangalore. So some way to go. But yeah, it just made me happy. It's a very weird thing that made me happy.
No, it's a really nice perspective. Weirdly, even I felt quite nice seeing everybody have a good time, enjoy themselves. The word is hard. Life is hard. We are going through. I mean, just I read somewhere that, imagine what the 2020s as a decade has been like already, and we are just 5 years in.
Oh,
like,
God.
What a decade it has been. And I hope like it gets better after this point and not worse. But yeah, we can, I think anything that momentarily gives us joy is great. And if that's Coldplay, that's Coldplay. Nobody should be shitting on that. So thank you. That was a very nice perspective.
Thanks, man. And thank you for being the first guest on this podcast. We will again hopefully see you week after week because it is something that we're supposed to do
only
together.
guest for some time. But
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, you never say never. Somebody from Hotstar is probably listening.
Absolutely.
And will be excited to be on next.
No, but before I end, I just want to say congratulations, Kevin. You have a podcast too.
Oh, thank you, man.
Now we don't have...
More men need podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what Yuvaa is here for. The diversity of... this is what we're doing with DEI right now, right? Just making sure we realize that there is a space and, how about having another man?
Yeah, sure.
But we have more podcasts coming up.
A lot more. Yeah.
And those podcasts actually feature different people of different genders as well. So that joke was an internal joke and not a confession. We are doing some very interesting stuff. Wait for a very exciting year of Yuvaa podcasts and Yuvaa conversations up ahead.
If you like that conversation, then good news. We're going to come out with new episodes of So What every week. You can also check out the So What Instagram handle at So What by Yuvaa. And also like, share and subscribe to We Are Yuvaa on all platforms.